Hey everybody, welcome back to the Walleye Files. Brandon Ruffalo here, my good buddy Mason Propst, and we are going to break down the next event on the National Walleye Tour out of La Crosse, Wisconsin on the Mississippi River. Mason, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Dude, I'm fantastic, man. It's been a bit of a crazy couple days. We were actually going to do this yesterday, guys. My laptop stopped working. My camera didn't work. So new laptop, camera's rolling. Things are good. And speaking of good things, of course, we want to say thank you to our amazing sponsors, Striker Brands, Go Early, Go Late, Go Prepared, Lake Effect Lures, Bring the Storm, and of course, the great people at Walleye Nation Creations. Make sure you give them all a like, a follow, and go check out their products if you don't have any of them. Mason, you ready to go? Let's get right into her.
I am. It's kind of funny. Kind of feels like we should be talking about like a Bassmaster Elite or like a MLF event because we're going to be talking about La Crosse, Wisconsin.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy, and obviously the Elite Series actually finishes their season there. We're gonna knock on some wood. Hope Jay Shakir, makes the dance there and gets the Angler of the Year trophy. Hope as of right now he's still leading by about 40 points. But I digress. Let's think about La Crosse here. What do you know about La Crosse, Mason?
I have very limited experience of La Crosse except for driving through it often to head towards whatever event we used to be going to, so I have no experience there except for tales from listening to my dad talk about it.
Sure. I've got a little, and it's very limited. I fished the NTC there right around the same time, I think it was like May 15th or 17th in 2018. What I can tell you is it is a fishery that changes a lot. Our first day of that tournament, the water was 6 feet lower than it was the first day of practice. And for somebody who is not from there and does not know how to fish a big river, at least at that point in time, that was a huge change and a huge curveball. It was one of those places that we caught fish just about every day, and it changed every single day where we caught them. And looking back, it makes a lot of sense. But there's just so much current, and when you're not used to that 2+ mile an hour main river current, it can eat you up in a hurry.
Absolutely. I mean, it absolutely can. Current's a big factor out here in South Dakota where I live. Usually we're not seeing it quite that quick, and we're not seeing the water fluctuation quite as high as that. But yeah, it's definitely a different scenario for a lot of people coming to this event.
For sure. Now, in your mind, Mason, what are going to be 2 or 3 key baits you think these guys are going to be using at this event?
I think everyone who knows me knows I love live bait. And it's getting to be crawler time. So I think a crawler is going to be a big time bait out there. There's another bait that just kind of, I've been thinking about it all week, and it just feels like this event sets up for it. And it's the Berkeley Money Badger, more of a crayfish style, hard thumping vibration with a little side roll and some clicking sound. Whether you're towing it or casting it, I think the Money Badger is going to be played here.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. Along with the Berkeley Digger and Berkeley Dredger, I think if you're going to cast a crankbait, those are probably your three that are really high on your list. They're bass, for the most part, they're bass style baits. They dive really quick. They get down to their max depth very quickly. And that's why they're so effective in those places with these little tiny pools. You're not fishing a big flat. You're fishing a lot of little dips and dives that might be the size of your truck, the size of your boat, or maybe the size of maybe your house, that are not that big of an area, but you're trying to cover them, with max efficiency. Another bait, I'm telling you right now, the Willow Cat it's a weird deal to try to fish with one. They get all snotted up and nasty. Don't get stung. I got double tapped in the finger and the thumb last year at the same time, and my whole arm went numb. But I tell you right now, there will be some giant fish caught on willow cats.
You know, and I've never used one, but I mean, that's all we hear about, you know, when they bring up the Mississippi River or they try to compare it there, they always ask, do you guys use the willow cats out there? And it's like, no, but I've seen them and I know how they work.
Yeah. And the walleyes love them. They absolutely crush the snot out of them every time you catch one with one. I haven't caught a lot of fish on willow cats, but the ones I have absolutely inhaled it. They don't hesitate. It is crushed down the hatch and gone. So I think that's going to be a really important bait for a lot of guys this weekend. I'm actually hearing some rumors they're getting hard to find out there. So
Wow,
that'll be really interesting.
like, so that, I mean, that'll play into the tournament, you know. I mean, that can completely ruin someone's day.
Oh, absolutely. If you show up with a dozen willow cats and you need 10 dozen, it might ruin your whole game plan. You know, and another thing, you might see some off the wall things, like you talked about crawlers, pitching crawlers, or I wouldn't be surprised to see guys dragging jigs down little back channels, or even trolling crankbaits down some of those back channels. I think
Absolutely.
So as far as where these fish are, where I understand it, they're working their way out of their back channels. You know, in La Crosse, in Pool 8, and Pool 9, these fish go way up in these back channels and creeks and spawn. And now they're spawned out. They're moving out of those channels. They're starting to find their first and secondary points and deep holes off those spots, and they're chasing bait. And anything that, any easy meal they can find.
Absolutely. One other tactic that I've been thinking about too is, and we've seen it a few other times, is honestly the crawler harness on the weed edges. We've seen it on, when you get off of the chain, on some of those lakes, that often can be an early season bite that just happens to work out, the shallow crawler harness.
Yeah, and I'm not sure guys are going to troll them like a Green Bay style harness, or how they do it on the Great Lakes. But it really wouldn't surprise me to see, a slow death hook, or just a spinner with a bead, or just a single bead with a crawler, on a bottom bouncer, something simple and right in those fish's noses. Again, we talked about fighting current. Those current breaks are going to be key.
Big time. I mean, that's where you might find your big fish at, right? That's where those guys are looking for. So
one other thing I think of when I think about this tournament and this bite is I think the main channel is going to start heating up. So there might be a good amount of fish out of those back channels hitting the wing dams. And if anybody's fished the Mississippi River, especially from May into June and July, wing dam fishing is an absolute staple.
Absolutely. That's what goes down there. It's a kind of a foreign concept to me, because that's where we differ. We're not like them with the wing dams on Sharp up here. It's more of a natural river where I think the wing dams are going to be a big player in this event for sure.
Yeah. For anybody who doesn't know what a wing dam is, it's just a big flow diverter. They built a rock spine on the edge of the channel, and you're just trying to divert flow into the channel. It helps stop erosion. And a lot of times those dams are going to have what's called a scour hole, where the current makes a roll and cuts a hole down into the wing dam. And the fish love to sit in those scour holes, and they'll jump, move, swim up, ambush bait, and roll back down into those scour holes.
Absolutely. So I got a question for you.
Sure.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking for weight in this event?
My best friend Dan Harper and I talked about that this morning. He's on his way out there. Um, I don't. It's such a tough concept for anybody who doesn't know this portion of the river. Pool 7 and 8 have a slot limit. You're allowed one fish over 20 inches per person. Pool 9, this is where the big decisions comes in, because there's some giant fish down in Pool 9. I'd say there's bigger fish down in 9 than there is in 7 and 8. But you're only allowed one fish over 27. You cannot keep any fish between 20 and 27 inches. And that's where your big decisions are going to come from. There's going to be a lot of guys that, I think I get a 29 incher. They're going to run down to 9 and try to get one big giant bite. It's not going to be easy. I think if somebody cracks 16 pounds a day, they have a chance at winning. If they get the 31 to 32 pounds, I think you have a shot.
That's kind of where I was sitting. I was thinking, I was like, I don't have a lot of knowledge on this. I haven't seen much from there. I tried doing some research. It was hard. I haven't really seen results of anything. I was thinking that 17 pounds, right around there. If you could get 17 pounds a day, I think you were going to take it.
Yep, I fully agree. And it wouldn't surprise me if it was a little less, if it's that 15 to 15 and a half pounds. You look back a couple of years in the Prairie du Chien event, 2022, I think it was 15 to 16 pounds a day is what brought home the win. That was Gary Marr. Dwayne Chelm took second. I think Max Wilson was in first after day one. He had 15 and a half pounds. But yeah, that 15 to 17 pound mark, it just sounds about right. If you stay up in 8 and you get 23 to 25 inchers and 3 more slot fish, I think you're going to have around that 16 to 17 pound mark.
Yep, you're sitting right there.
So Mason, now comes the fun part of our deal here, where we get to pick a couple anglers. Do you have like 2 or 3 anglers you think are going to possibly take home the W?
This is a tough one, but like you said, I looked at a couple events that I thought were kind of similar. And there was a couple of names that I kept seeing. Max is obviously one. And Jason Shakira. In some similar style events, he's done pretty well. So I was kind of looking at those guys just based off of consistency.
Yeah, those are great names. Max is incredibly consistent. Jason was one that I was thinking. His first major win was on the Mississippi River. He's very talented. He understands current really well. He lives close to the Wisconsin River. That fish is probably a bit more like La Crosse than most other places. Jason's definitely a guy to watch out for. I'd say Bill Shimoda is another guy that's very similar. He understands current. He's won on the Mississippi before. And then the wild card, if he's fishing. He took second in the game last weekend with his girlfriend. Jordan Flickiger is a young, up-and-coming talent. He is a great fisherman. His dad, Jared, is a great guy. Both of them are really good dudes. I've had some conversations with both of them. Very talented anglers. He obviously knows the pools pretty much better than most other guys. He took second last weekend in pool 8 and 9. I think if anybody's going to just run in there, kick the door in, and take a W, it's probably Jordan.
I would agree. I agree. I don't know Jordan personally, but just following along in tournaments, he's kicking tail out there. So if he's in this event, that would not surprise me in the least. I mean, and then if we're going off of just some going off of tournaments, you obviously got to think about Hunter and Eric right now. They're both, anywhere they go, they are getting it done. So those two are obviously going to be up in my picks as well. You just can't pick until they prove you wrong. You got to go with them.
Yeah, 100% agree. Hunter Nitty is on a heater still from last year. Eric's is as good of an angler as anybody on the tour. It'll be a fun one to watch and to see, who makes the hard decisions to go down to 9, right, and who, I wouldn't say play it safe, but really puts the time in pool 8 to try to figure out where those 2 or 3 key bites are going to come from.
Yeah, I absolutely. I mean, and that's some tough decision making. I mean, like you said, you're risking if you go down, you're risking coming in with no overs. If it doesn't work out just perfect, you are putting up a big time risk.
Yep, 100% agree. And that is the game. You know what, guys? This is high stakes gambling. That's what fishing tournaments
It
is.
really
That's
is.
um maybe that's why we like it. I don't know. I don't play slot machines. I don't play poker, but man, I'm really good at sending money away fishing tournaments.
Yeah, I think a lot of us are.
Awesome. Well, brother, I appreciate you being on. Guys, thank you for watching. Jake should be back soon. He's actually pre-fishing for the AIM on Leech Lake right now. But thank you everybody for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe the Walleye Files on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Spotify, and TikTok, of course. TikTok, can't forget that one. Again, thanks to our amazing sponsors. Mason, I appreciate you being here, brother. And we will see who comes out on top on the Mississippi River.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Of course, buddy. Every single time we'll have you on.
Let's do it.
All right, guys. We'll see you.